All right, so let's see, you got yourself one of these vacuum fountain pens. This one is a TWSBI Vac700R, and you filled it up, and most likely the way you did that was you just unscrew the top, the cap, and you just unscrewed the bottom one, right? Pulled it back, dipped this in the ink, press down on it until it goes all the way to the bottom, and then the ink flows all the way into the reservoir, and you got it filled. Well, this one I already have it pre-filled. So most likely after you filled, you kind of twisted this back on, and you said, all right, let's go ahead and start writing. And you just kind of write on. And as you write, which is pretty good, right? It's writing well. And often enough, this will write quite a bit. Right? And I could pretty much fill up maybe, depending on how wet my nib is, probably a page, or a little over a page, or 3/4 of a page. And suddenly, after doing this, your pen suddenly starts to not write well, or the nib gets very, very scratchy, right? And this is one mistake I think all beginners, especially if it's your first time using a vacuum fill fountain pen, will make, and I certainly did when I bought myself one. I do really like that it actually has enough reservoir to hold a decent amount of ink, since my primary pens are fountain pens. I prefer to have pens with a large reservoir built in. Not to say there aren't other pens that I don't like, but I definitely made this mistake as well. And as I started writing, and suddenly the pen stopped writing, and I'm like, okay, what gives? Right? The ink is full, yet my pen's just getting very scratchy and not writing. In this case, right, you can see that it's still writing, and it probably will for another page or so. And this is the mistake everybody makes. Once you do fill this up, right, you want to make sure that this is not completely tightened. Right? Once you tighten it, what happens is the piston here seals the front of the pen, and whatever ink you are getting or writing is probably going to be left over from when you fill this, right? So either from the nib or whatever is here. So you really don't have any new ink flowing down to your nib as you write if you have that fully tightened. So to avoid your nib getting scratchy and stop writing, right, where you get no ink flow, what you really want to do is this part. You want to make sure this isn't completely tight and loosen it a little bit, right? So maybe, I don't know, depends on how much ink you want. I usually just loosen it enough so it's right this full tight. Maybe a half a turn or a little over half a turn. You don't have to unscrew it all the way back like as if you're filling it, right? So tighten, and then this one turn so it's loose. That usually does the trick for me to continue writing. Right? So again, if you bought yourself a vacuum fill pen and suddenly it stops writing, first thing to check is really, did you tighten this all the way? And if you did, probably want to loosen that a bit to get it working again. Cool. Well, happy writing, and hopefully you're enjoying your vacuum fill pen. I certainly do. And I do really love the reservoir size on these, and also the ease of just filling it up, right? You just press down, piston goes down, ink shoots up, call it a day. Awesome.